Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I do want to do a part 2 here today of the Angel of Yahweh. If remember, we did a part 1, which I did with Bible Lover 1, 2, 3, 4. We went over information regarding the Angel of Yahweh. We covered Judges chapter 2, verse 1, which we're actually going to be in Judges today, where the Angel of Yahweh is the giver of the covenant, making him Yahweh. And then we also covered Genesis 32, where Jacob wrestles with God in human form, a theophany. And if you go to Hosea chapter 12, verses 3 to 4, it actually identifies it as the angel. We talked about the angel being the son due to the cross referencing Isaiah 63 with the Trinitarian formulas of the New Testament. And then we also covered how Jesus is identified in the New Testament as working even in the Old Testament. And then we covered two objections that the angel is called an angel and the objection of divine agency. So we're going to go over a little bit more information today. You can actually see some tabs open up here. So we're going to walk through Judges chapter 13 and show how it demonstrates the deity of the angel of Yahweh. And then we are going to cover two more objections today. One of them actually directly pertaining to Judges chapter 13. So let's get into it. Judges 13. So it says, again, the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines for 40 years. So remember, Judges has the theme of the Israelites sinning, repenting, and then God delivers them over and over again. So right now, they're doing evil, and then now they're in the hands of the Philistines. And remember, the judges have the judges who rise up and deliver Israel, right? So there was a certain man from Zorah of the family of the Danites whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and had no children. And the angel of the Lord, remember, notice, angel of the Lord is here. He is appearing right now. So the angel of the Lord, right, appeared to the woman and said to her, indeed, now you are barren and have borne no children, but you shall conceive and bear a son. Now, therefore, please be careful not to drink wine or similar drink, and not to eat anything unclean. For behold, you shall conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall become upon his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite to God. You can read about the Nazarite vow in Numbers chapter 6, if you want to read more on that. From the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. So this is the next judge that's going to rise up. This is Samson, right? And this is the angel of the Lord appearing to this woman here. Specifically, no, not Manoah, his wife, Manoah's wife. Excuse me. I don't know if she's identified by name. We'll see that in a second, maybe. So verse 6. So the woman came and told her husband, saying, a man of God came to me. Now notice he is called a man here. Now remember that God can appear in theophanic form. So when God appears in the burning bush, God doesn't eternally exist as a burning bush. And remember, that was the angel of Yahweh, right? The angel of Yahweh appeared in the burning bush. If you read Exodus chapter 3, verse 2. So it doesn't mean that he eternally exists as a burning bush or always exists like that way. He can appear in different forms. And so that's how he's appearing right now. He's appearing as a man. So a man of God came to me, and his countenance was like the countenance of the angel of God. The footnote here, appearance, right? Sort of like, maybe not his physical appearance, but something about him, something about this man here made Manoah's wife think that this was the angel of God. And she said specifically, very awesome. This is the NKJV. So we're going to look at the Hebrew word right here, which, whoops, I went too far down here. Yere, right? Yere, which if we scroll down, right, we have, well, actually, first of all, where's the definition? There's supposed to be a definition here. There we go. Strong's definition. A primitive root to fear, to morally to revere, constitutively to frighten, affright, be, make afraid, dreadful, put in, fear, fully or fearing, be had in reverence, right? Reverence is one of the, not just be had, just reverence, right? So notice, right? Fear, reverence, awe, right? Look at the outline. To fear, revere, or be afraid, right? To be a fear, be afraid. To stand in awe of, be awed, right? And this word is actually used in context of when referring to Yahweh, distinguished from the false gods, right? Exodus 15, verse 11. Moses' song, I believe, here. Who is like you, O Lord, or O Yahweh among the gods? Who is like you in glorious holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders? There's the word fearful, the same Hebrew word there being used. You can literally double check on the website Blue Letter Bible, and it will list this verse here using the same Hebrew word, fearful. So in awe, you are fearful in the praises, doing wonders, right? So that's referring to Yahweh. So going back, so we know here that where is it? Very awesome. So this is kind of language that describes God, right? Very fearful, awesome, right? So, anyways, but I did not ask him where he was from, and he did not tell me his name. Now, this has to do with, and we're going to read later and see how this connects back. I believe in verse 17, how this connects back to this verse. This implies something incomprehensible about this man here, this messenger, whoever he is, right? Who is the angel of Yahweh, obviously, but she doesn't recognize him. So you see how like this language is describing, and you also saw this in Genesis 32 if you see the previous video, which you probably should watch just to get some background information. But you see how right there it shows some language that you talk about Yahweh of, right? This is the kind of language you speak of when talking about Yahweh, right? So it's showing the incomprehensibility. In fact, I was reading a few commentaries and they were talking about how in ancient Near Eastern culture, name there, when you speak of in this context, you're trying to understand who you're talking about. Your name encompasses your character, and other times your divine essence, or not divine essence, encompasses your essence or character, depending on the context, right? So, verse 7. And he said to me, behold, and it's just repeating what it said here back in verse 5, so I'm not going to read that again just to save time. Verse 8, then Manoah prayed to the Lord, Yahweh, and said, oh my Lord, this is a key verse here. Please let the man of God whom you sent come to us again and teach us what we shall do for the child who will be born, which is Samson. So we have here him praying to Yahweh, and then he speaks of the man as distinct from Yahweh. Now, someone might bring this up and say, well, look at that. The angel is distinct from Yahweh, so how can he be Yahweh? And to that I say, yes, the angel is distinct from Yahweh in a sense, but still he encompasses the very nature of Yahweh. So if you take Yahweh here to refer to the Father, which is what I would argue here, then yeah, in that sense, the angel is distinct from Yahweh. But excuse me. But if you read the entire chapter here, you would recognize that the angel of Yahweh or the angel of God is not a mere creature, but he is, in fact, the bearer of the divine essence that the Father bears, right? So let's keep going, and you're going to see how this plays out. We already saw a few nuggets here and there, but it gets even better. Verse 9, and God listened to the voice of Manoah, and the angel of God, right, distinct, again, another distinction, whoops, trying to highlight this, another distinction, came to the woman again as she was sitting in the field, but Manoah, her husband, was not with her. Then the woman ran in haste and told her husband and said to him, look, the man who came to me the other day has just now appeared to me. Right, he's back. He's back. The man is back. So Manoah rose and followed his wife. When he came to the man, he said to him, are you the man who spoke to this woman? And he said, I am. Manoah said, now let your words come to pass. What will the boy's rule of life? What will be the boy's rule of life and his work? So he's asking about Samson. What is Samson's life going to be like? What is his job going to be? So the angel of the Lord, notice the angel of the Lord is the angel of God, first of all. So some people, in case they try to argue the horrible point that, oh, well, the angel of God and the angel of the Lord are two different. No. It's being used interchangeably here. That's absurd interpretation. So, anyways, of all that I have said to the woman, let her be careful. She may not eat anything that comes from the vine, nor may she drink wine or similar drink, nor eat anything unclean. All that I commanded her to let her observe, because obviously she's bearing the child is supposed to oh, wait a minute, to obey the Nazarite vow, and so she herself, while he's in the womb, has to do certain things and stay away from certain things. So, yeah. Verse 15. Then Manoah said to the angel of the Lord, please let us detain you, not in a legal sense. He's obviously, let it stay at our house, right? And we will prepare a young goat for you. Verse 16. Very interesting verse here. And the angel of the Lord said to Manoah, though you detain me, I will not eat your food. But if you offer burnt offering, you must offer it to the Lord, to Yahweh. For Manoah did not know he was the angel of the Lord. Now, oftentimes angels reject worship. Now, Manoah here, I don't think he's trying to worship here. I think he's just trying to, like, prepare food, as it says, though you detain me, I will not eat your food, right? So I think right there, he's trying to give, like, food here for the angel, or the man, as he says, because they don't recognize him yet, as it says. For Manoah did not know he was the angel of the Lord, so he wasn't trying to worship him. However, he wanted to serve him. And oftentimes angels reject worship, but here he's not necessarily rejecting worship, but here he's just kind of saying, but if you offer a burnt offering, you must offer it to the Lord, right? So he's kind of just raising that hypothetical there, and he's going to reveal himself through that offering. Watch. Verse 17. Then Manoah said to the angel of the Lord, what is your name? Then when your words come to pass, we may honor you. Right? So he wants to know who he is, because he doesn't know it's the angel of the Lord. But then watch what the angel says. And the angel of the Lord said to him, why do you ask my name? Seeing it is wonderful. Wonderful. What does that mean? Let's open up the Hebrew word again. And we have here, remarkable, secret, wonderful, right? Wonderful, incomprehensible, extraordinary. And now look at this. And the angel, so look at Psalm 139, verse 6. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high. I cannot attain unto it. Let's open up Psalm 139. And when you see in context, it's speaking of knowledge pertaining to God, right? Look at the verses here. Let's start from verse. Let's start from verse. Let's just start from the beginning. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know my sitting down and my rising up. You understand my thought afar off. You comprehend my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. For there is not a word on my tongue, but behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You have hedged me behind and before, and laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high; I cannot attain it. So heading back to Judges 13, we see there how um, the word there is talking about things incomprehensible, secret, above man's ways, right? So heading down, and those are the only two times it's used. Notice that too. Well, actually, it looked like it was used four times, but sometimes it was untranslated. I think I don't know because that. But anyways, the times it shows up, it's talking about incomprehensibility, right? Secrecy. So Manoah took the young goat with the grain offering and offered it up upon the rock to the Lord. So he's speaking of to Yahweh, right? But probably specifically to the Father. He doesn't know it's the angel of Yahweh yet. And he did a wondrous thing while Manoah and his wife looked on. It happened as the flame went up toward heaven from the altar. The angel of the Lord ascended in the flame of the altar. What in the world is happening? Imagine that. Imagine a guy comes up to you. Your wife says, I didn't ask who he is, and he seems like the angel of Yahweh, imagine let's put it into modern context. Let's say she says Jesus. He was kind of like Jesus, and so the guy appears to you another day, and you ask him like, "What is your name?" And then you give a burnt offering. All right, let's offer something to God. Maybe not necessarily, doing a sacrifice. Let's say you want to cook something, just to give it a little more. I mean, that's not how you would actually do a sacrifice. It's more than that. But let's just say, just to give it in a modern context, we don't typically do animal sacrifices today. Let's say you cook something, right? And then in the smoke, he just kind of goes up in it. A guy, a regular dude who you don't suspect to be more than a dude, right? And then notice the reaction. When Manoah and his wife saw this, they fell on their faces to the ground, right? That's divine reverence. In some contexts, it can just be normal reverence, but in this context, when you see this kind of a miracle, that's something that is like divine reverence. Think of when the apostles did miracles and then people fell on their faces to the ground. That was them worshiping. And then the apostles told them, rise up, for I'm just a man, I'm just a messenger. That's not what happens here. They see this miracle, don't know who he is. He's telling them, why do you ask my name? It's too wonderful, it's comprehensible. And then this happens. Putting this all together, this isn't a normal angel or creature. This is something more. This is someone more. Verse 21. When the angel of the Lord appeared no more to Manoah and his wife, that wait a minute, hold on. Then Manoah knew that it was the angel of the Lord. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I messed that up for a second. So when he didn't appear anymore, then that's when Manoah realized, oh, this is the angel of the Lord. And then look at his reaction. Look at this. This is not what you say about creatures. Verse 22. And Manoah said to his wife, we shall surely die because we have seen God. Wait a second. Hold on. Hold your horses. Let me open up this other tab here for a second. Let's go to Exodus 33. Exodus 33. We're going to go to verse 20. Now notice what it says. This is God speaking to Moses, which I would argue probably in context is the father here, but let's just set that aside for argument's sake. Exodus 33:20. But he said, you cannot see my face, For no man shall see me and live. Right? No man shall see me and live. And this is also spoken of in Genesis 32, as we covered last time. Right? This language is divine language. His reaction, Manoah's reaction in Judges 13:22, is that of as if he just saw God, because that's explicitly what he says. Because we have seen God. First of all, that's clear from right there. He explicitly says we just saw God, so he identified the angel as God. But on top of that, to take it a step further, you don't react this way from seeing an angel. That's language specifically pertaining to God, right? Because God's presence, man cannot stand in his presence. So when someone survives after seeing God, it's an extraordinary event, because the norm is that when you stand in his presence, you die. And it's interesting because I was on Discord a few days ago, and in the Amago Logos Discord server, my friend External was debating a Jew on the Angel of Yahweh, and the Jew brought this point that, well, first of all, External brought up the point that if you say that the angel is just a messenger, then you bring up epistemic problems with identifying Yahweh, because then you never know when it's Yahweh or just a messenger. Then the Jew responded, "Well, yeah, we can know because no man can see God and live." Funny, because this is actually spoken of the angel specifically. Look, this is spoken of the angel. And then the rest of the passage, just to kind of summarize, doesn't really pertain to my point, but just uh, you have, if the Lord has desired to kill us, he would not have accepted a burnt offering, right? God didn't want to kill him. They're doing what's right. They wouldn't have had that offering accepted. They wouldn't have heard the things they heard, seen the things they seen. So Samson is born, and just a little Easter egg, little extra bonus here. The Spirit of the Lord began to move upon him at Mahana Dan, whatever this says, I don't know. But the Spirit of the Lord's also here, so that's also pretty cool, right? Little nugget there, little nugget for the Trinity. Anyways, now there are two potential objections that I do want to raise up, not just to this passage, but in general. This one specifically to this passage. So look at this is John 14 verse 9. Jesus said to him, this is speaking to Philip, "Have I been with you so long, and yet you have not known me, Philip? He who has seen me has seen the Father. So how can you say, show us the Father?" Well, look at that. If Manoah said, "We have seen God," when speaking of the angel, then are you going to say Jesus is the Father because Jesus says, "You have seen me, you have seen the Father"? Now, there are a couple problems with this. First of all, John is its own context, right? So, well, and really just one big problem with it. Not really many problems, just one big problem. John is its own context. This same John that quotes Jesus quotes his two next verses, and Jesus explains what he means, not what Manoah means, what he means in this context. That's not connected to Judges 13. "Do you not believe that I am in the Father, and the Father in me? The words that I speak to you, I do not speak on my own authority, but the Father who dwells in me does the works. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father in me, or else believe me for the sake of the works themselves." So how do you see the Father when you see Jesus? Because Jesus is the Father? No, he explains what he means. His works that reveal the Father. In fact, if you read the beginning of John's Gospel, right, our Gospel account here in John 1:18, "No one has seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, who's in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him, he has explained him, right? He has revealed him to us." And so when Jesus says that in John 14:9, that should be read in light of the prologue, which tells us what it means already. Jesus is the perfect revelation of the Father. When you see Jesus, you see the Father, because Jesus reveals to us the Father, and not just in his works, because the epistles make it clear more explicitly that Jesus bears the glory and nature of the Father. Right? You can see that in like Hebrews 1:3, for example. I'm going to get a little too far off track now, so let's just kind of head back to the point that, yeah, this doesn't mean that now when Manoah says we have seen God, he's not saying it in this sense, because these are two separate contexts, right? These are entirely different contexts. So this is a misapplication of what Jesus means here in John chapter 14, and then misapplying it to a context where the angel reveals himself as a divine identity, whatever you want to call it, in Judges chapter 13. The last objection I want to address is the objection that, well, he's an angel, so he's speaking on behalf of God. And if you watch my discussion with Bez from the Gazi Israelites about almost a year ago, I was alongside Baba Lover. We were discussing the Trinity in the Old Testament, and he brought this very objection. Well, he's an angel, so he's speaking on behalf of God, right? And there is a problem with this, and this is what's called valid reference. So, for example, um, I am a man, right? You can consider me a man in the sense that I'm human. And so, if I'm talking to you and you call me human, right, that's a valid referent, right? The man. But you can't call someone else the man if you're not talking about me, right? Valid reference. Or think of the classic divine agency example. Brother sends you a letter, and the mailman sends you a letter. You can say your brother sent you a letter, but what you cannot say is that your brother walked up to your door and sent you a letter. That's an invalid referent because your brother did not walk up to the door. That was the mailman. You cannot call the mailman your brother, right? The mailman can introduce himself as your brother, right? Those are invalid reference. However, that's exactly what happens with the angel of Yahweh. He is called God, literally referred to as God. It's a referent, and he introduces himself as God. Like he calls himself the God of Bethel, I believe, in Genesis 31, which maybe we'll cover in a part 3 in the future. I don't know. We'll see. And I do want to pull this up as an example, right? So, this is Colossians 1:7. Not necessarily a Trinitarian passage, just something I want to point up as an example. As you also learn from Epaphras, our dear fellow servant, who is a faithful minister of Christ on your behalf. So notice, right? Faithful minister is predicated upon Epaphras here. He is the faithful minister, right? This kind of language is how you describe someone, right? Subjects and predicates, right? That's like grammar, right? In a linking verb sentence, right? There's the linking verb is, was, am, is, are, whatever, right? Then you have the subject and the predicate. And so minister is predicated here upon Epaphras. Now, this language is exactly what you see of the angel of Yahweh, as I just mentioned. He says, I am the God of Bethel. So I, the angel of Yahweh, speaking there in Genesis 31, which I'll probably put on the screen. I don't have it up right here. I'll probably edit it in. Maybe we'll cover it more in depth in another video. But just so you see, I, the angel of Yahweh speaking, am, there's a linking verb, the God of Bethel. There's the predicate. God of Bethel is predicated upon the angel of Yahweh. So you can't just say there that, oh, well, he's just talking, he's just speaking on behalf of God. That's not how this works. That's not how grammar works. That's not how agency works. It does not work like that. You cannot introduce yourself as your divine agent, right? A mailman can't walk up to the door and say, hey, I'm your brother. Here's a letter, right? The U.S. military cannot go out to other countries and call themselves collectively Donald Trump. You can't do that. That's not how agency works. And so that this objection ultimately fails because it just does not meet the criteria of uh, what reference actually are. So that's it. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope this is another helpful video on the Angel of Yahweh. If you want a part 3, I mean, there's more I could cover. Like we could do a whole series on this if you want. So I mean, if you want a part 3, definitely like the video. Let me know in the comments. And I'm heading out now. Thank you all for watching. God bless you all, and goodbye.